Yo, what's poppin'? Back like we never left BDA, and today we have a special video. Today, I want to talk about somebody that I really haven't talked about much on this channel unless he's in the chapter. Also, the crazy part is we've been seeing him a lot in this recent arc, not in real time, but based on flashbacks. The guy I'm talking about is clearly based on his thumbnail, is Silver's Rayleigh. Why do people love him so much? I know you're probably wondering, like, why the hell? This is so random. Why would you think that people love Rayleigh? What makes you think that people love Rayleigh? Okay, randomly I'm sitting down and I'm thinking, like, who are the most liked characters in One Piece? Like, who are the characters in One Piece that people absolutely hate, or absolutely like rather, that with no qualms whatsoever? I think this kind of stemmed from like the Luffy Katakuri thing, where a lot of people like hate Katakuri because they love Luffy. And you know, when you go down the character list, you have Luffy, you have people that love Luffy and hate Luffy, people that love Zoro and hate Zoro because Zoro and Sanji. Obviously with Sanji, a lot of people hate Sanji as well. For characters like Law, I understand why people love him, just because he saved Luffy and he's been dope throughout the series that, you know, from the time we've seen him. If we keep going to Shanks and Mihawk, we have the fandom that's split because people love Mihawk and love Shanks. They kind of split those down to two because you kind of have to pick a side. That's how the fandom is sometimes. It's weird as fuck how we are, right? Anyway, when it comes to Rayleigh, it seems like everyone loves him. Like, everybody that I've asked about, like, how you feel about Rayleigh, they absolutely adore him. So I did some research, or I went back and I read up on Rayleigh and reread chapters and just went back. I'm like, yo, Rayleigh's fucking awesome. Let me give my personal situation or my personal history as far as like when I really fell in love with Rayleigh. So for people that don't know who I'm talking about by now, that's the right hand of the Pirate King Gold Roger, Silver's Rayleigh. And of course his name is kind of a play on his name of the Pirate King. I'm talking about Gold Roger, and his name Silver's Rayleigh, and of course the third in command Scopper's Gaban, you know, gold, silver, copper. Silver's Rayleigh, we got introduced to him in the Sabaody Archipelago. So Rayleigh made a dope introduction at the Sabaody Archipelago, and he was supposed to coat the ship for the Straw Hats to go to Fishman Island. Of course, things went awry with Kizaru and all that stuff, but Rayleigh initially off the jump was a monster and a boss. Also, there was a lot of hype surrounding Rayleigh from Sabaody Archipelago. I'll get to the Kizaru fight. Don't worry, I'll definitely get to that. But before that, Rayleigh was kind of hyped up by Garp, because they were said that, yo, Rayleigh's been sold at the auction, and Garp was like, yo, I wouldn't worry about him. He probably got a gambling debt or something. But back to my personal story about Rayleigh, and when I really fell in love with Rayleigh was at the auction house when he knocked out Disco because of how he's fucking with Kami, and using King's Haki as potent as he did and as accurate as he did. I was amazed. I was like, who the fuck? Who is this guy? The more we got introduced to Rayleigh and the more we found out about Rayleigh, the more I enjoyed his character. First of all, Rayleigh is an analytical guy. So everything he does, he thinks about it before he does it, and he makes sure he makes the right decision every time. Think back to everything that Rayleigh has gone through, okay? Being the right hand of the Pirate King, and he was always the guy keeping Shanks and Buggy in check. So Rayleigh was kind of like the serious guy on the ship, but you can tell he also had a fun side. Fuck all that though. Rayleigh was the right hand of the Pirate King, and he was still walking around. They knew where he was, but they didn't want to fuck with him. Again, I keep deviating from my fucking favorite part with Rayleigh, but at the auction house, everyone pretty much knew who Rayleigh was, and he was revered as a legend because indeed, in fact, he was. Rayleigh is also extremely knowledgeable. Everything you asked him, he seemed to have an answer for it, except for the Kuma thing. No one asked him that, but he didn't know about that at all, as far as Kuma being a revolutionary. But Rayleigh, super knowledgeable, and he was even like, yo, I can tell you about the Void Century. Robin was like, I'm good on that. Rayleigh even talked about O'Hara and said that Professor Clover was brilliant, but then he said it was an amazing quote, right? He said that something along the lines of they were too quick to try to find what the truth was. That's a conversation for another day, but Rayleigh has his hands in everything. I went off on a quick tangent about Rayleigh, but let me get back to the matter at hand. Why fans love Rayleigh. So one, this moment in Sabaody where Rayleigh saved the Straw Hats. Okay, so the Straw Hats, they get themselves in trouble because Luffy punched a celestial dragon. And of course, Kizaru shows up. Kizaru shows up, and Kizaru is literally, he's one-shotting and soloing all the supernovas, and the Straw Hats, they were the point and the focus of his ire. They obviously at this point cannot even touch Kizaru, and he is about to kill Zoro, and here comes Rayleigh out of nowhere and stops Kizaru. Now, when you think about Rayleigh, you think about someone being strong, but I've viewed him as being older. I'm like, okay, he probably can't hang with an admiral right now. Rayleigh proved me wrong. Rayleigh completely proved me wrong, and he actually, in that short scuffle, he was winning. In that short scuffle, he had the upper hand because he got a cut. He got a cut on his cheek. I mean, you got to give it up, right? So Rayleigh in that moment, it showed like, yo, this dude is legendary. And even Kizaru, hyped him up and said, yo, if he were to try to capture you, we need more forces. It was crazy as far as like the hype that was building with Rayleigh. So that's one moment that the fandom really loved because of how he protected the Straw Hats and just him being an overall dope character. And of course, him being close to Gold Roger and the Void Sentry, that even piqued the interest of all the fandom because we want to know what Rayleigh knows because he knows everything. He's kind of like Robin in a way. He knows more than Robin, but he's like Robin where it's like he has information, but Oda doesn't want him to tell us. He wants us to go through it. So, I mean, you gotta love a character like that. Robin is kind of annoying sometimes because you know she knows shit and she's part of the crew and it's not, just tell them, bro. Just fucking tell them. You would think that was the end of the Rayleigh hype, but you know, after Marineford and all that shit, Rayleigh actually was on the way to Amazon Lily to, you know, look after Luffy and see what Luffy was up to, and his ship got sunk. And Rayleigh fucking slaughtered Sea Kings and swam through the calm belt at his age. Rayleigh's like, what, 70 something? And he did it at his age, and Rayleigh walked out the goddamn sea looking like a fucking 35-year-old in his goddamn prime. Was like, yo, this dude is fucking unbelievable, right? It didn't even end there. Rayleigh went with Luffy to sneak into Marineford to ring the goddamn Ox Bell. Of course, this led to 3D2Y, right? I didn't even talk about Rayleigh and his history with the Celestial Dragons and Hancock and Boa and all those guys. That's why he was welcomed on Amazon Lily. But regardless, that would be another day for character analysis of Rayleigh. Now we're just here to hype Rayleigh up and to explain why the fandom loves him. So as I explained, the Marineford shit, or after the Marineford shit, and now skipping past the Marineford shit, we have to, okay, before that, the Seabelt, the Calm Belt shit with destroying the Sea Kings at his age. And then after that, I think this is when the fandom was like, okay, Rayleigh's a real one. When Rayleigh told Luffy, listen, man, I don't know if you're ready. You should probably train and I will train you. And Rayleigh went with him to Riskina and trained Luffy for 1.5 years. So, right? So he trained him for 1.5 years. He left 6 months early and trained him pretty much Haki. He gave Luffy tips on how to better improve his Devil Fruit, how to improve as a fighter. So he was intricate as far as Luffy's development. We saw even after that, Rayleigh accompanied Luffy to Sabaody, and Rayleigh even called Luffy his pupil, and he compared him to Roger several times. This was showing that Rayleigh was the character that was going to be kind of like, obviously a mentor of Luffy, but you really enjoy that and you love everything that Rayleigh brought to the table. Saying Rayleigh and Rayleigh a lot, that's really fucking with me. So for me, it's clear that based on Rayleigh's connection to the Straw Hats, protecting the Straw Hats, his connection to Gold Roger, and everything that he's done, Rayleigh has been a fucking monster so far. Everything we know about Rayleigh, he's been a genuinely good guy, saving Hancock and those guys, saving Luffy. Even the fact that he's a monster and on Sabaody, they know where he is, but they don't want to fuck with him. That builds his legend. And I think that's why the fandom really loves Rayleigh. There's no qualities of Rayleigh that you really don't like. I mean, he's a fucking gambler and he does this shit to kind of rip off like the auction houses and all those guys. He does it on purpose for his masters to rip those guys off. So it is what it is. That's kind of noble as well, kind of like some Robin Hood shit. Off of all that, Rayleigh is a loved character because, again, his connection with Luffy, training Luffy, and he's seemingly rearing Luffy to be the next Pirate King, all right? He's kind of Shanks, but upgraded in a way. And we also had the conversation before as far as like Rayleigh and Shanks, who's probably stronger in their prime. And you know, that's again another video for another day. But I just want to explain like why the fandom loves Rayleigh and think about all that Rayleigh has done for Luffy. And as far as like who he is, and it's like, oh, how can you not love this man? How can you not adore Silver's Rayleigh, one of the best characters in One Piece? I think personally, one of the most hyped characters, one of the most beloved characters, one of my favorites for sure. So guys, let me know what you think. Yo, what's up guys? So I thought about some stuff after I was done recording, but I really wanted to say this in this video because I feel like it was important, okay? A few things I forgot to mention about Rayleigh was, one, I mentioned his connection to Luffy, but also I talked about his connection to Roger, but I didn't delve too deep into it. So I want to mention that really quickly. Rayleigh's connection to Roger is important because Rayleigh is the closest thing that we have to the man that conquered the seas. He is the closest thing to the living legend that is Roger. He was the right hand. He was the closest thing. Literally, he was right there with him. And so we hold on to Rayleigh because we, at some point, we expect some information from Rayleigh as far as in regards to the voyage, the first voyage, or even the second voyage. But I don't think we're ever going to get that, but I think we hold on to that. And he gives us information here and there, especially to Luffy as far as his training, but the connection to Roger and him being the Dark King, the right hand of the Pirate King, that's something that we hold on to. In addition to his connection to Roger, look at his connections to everyone. He has connections to some of the best characters in One Piece. Obviously Luffy, but also Boa, Hancock, and you know, her sister, Shanks, and Buggy. He has connections to two fan favorites that everyone loves. So when you think about it that way and everything that really is connected to, there's no reason why the fandom would not love him. And I think that amplifies our love for him. Also, his character design. His design is pretty awesome. Even when he was younger and how it is now, he looks like an old boss. So those are a few things that I thought about after the fact that I think draws like the fan base to Rayleigh, because overall his character is written to be liked, essentially. And it works. It works because I definitely love Rayleigh. But yeah, that's it. If there's anybody in the chat that doesn't fuck with Rayleigh or doesn't like Rayleigh, or is a reason that you don't like Rayleigh, let me know in the comment section below, and then we will go at it, bro, because I want to know why you don't like Rayleigh, why you think Rayleigh shit. Just let me, I want to see who does this. If there's somebody that's trolling, then I'm gonna fucking block you or some shit. But guys, like this video if you did, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, that would be dope. Check out my other videos, they're always lit, and I'll catch y'all niggas later. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.